Hey everyone, I'm Shap. I am here with Paula Angelucci. Did I say that right, Paula?
You did. You said it perfectly.
So we are here. We're super excited. We are going to be starting a series called Getting Better with Shap and Paula. And we're both really excited about it. We're going to cover a lot of topics that are going to hopefully get you better. And from talking to Paula, Paula is a dear friend of a dear friend of mine. We're going to shout her out. Her name is Jana. And so when I talked to Paula on the phone, I was struck by just her energy, her positivity, um, just how upbeat she seemed. And also, she hasn't really told me this, but I get a sense that she's really, really driven and somebody who is really trying to make a difference in the world. And that is something that connects with me totally. So for our first episode, I'll have Paula introduce herself in 1 second.
Mhm.
For our first episode, we are going to be talking about mindset. And if the time allows, and if we go to it, we'll talk a little bit about discipline. So, Paula, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about you?
All right. Well, thank you for letting me join you alongside your amazing podcast. I listened to a bunch of episodes and you on social media, and you really many things you said and spoke of resonated with me. Of course, you said it. You're a friend of my dear friend Jana, who's like a sister to me. So any friend of hers. So I was immediately endeared to you. So yeah. So I feel like, you really kind of, you choose the mindset that you have. And so I think through life, I've really tried to look at the glass half full as opposed to half empty. I'm a retail person. So anybody knows me, I've been in retail my whole life, and I've had many amazing mentors, and they've nicknamed me and they nickname me Rosie because they say I look through life with rose colored glasses. So I've been called Rosie. And one mentor told me you have to watch because sometimes your strength, so wanting to see the good in people with that mindset, is sometimes an opportunity because you have a blind spot to that person. And so I did kind of marinate on that. And I still, I choose to look for the good. I think it's sometimes, a challenging world out there. And I don't know. I don't want to stop looking for the good, and I don't want to stop believing in the good in people. And I feel like that's, paying it forward is always the way to go. And so I'm sure now you can kind of see a few parallels between me and Jana and knowing what
Yes,
brought us together.
yes,
Um, Jana, I always say Jana's my friend who's never going to give me tough love. She's just not. She's my number one fan, and and always there to cheer me on, and seeing the good. So sometimes I have to say, you know what, maybe you got to take off those rose colored glasses too. But yeah, I mean, I feel like, I've been really blessed. I have a beautiful daughter who lights my world on fire, and successful career in retail, which hasn't always been easy, and blessed with a family and a kind husband. And so I feel like, we didn't mention grateful. You and I've talked about it a few times, but I think all of those things really impact your mindset.
100%. And a lot of it too is it's interesting. I was taking some notes, and you talked
Hmm.
about like the rose-colored glasses and
Hmm.
the glass half full. It's funny. All of my friends, I mean, the students, people I've taught with, they'll always say, Shap, you're the eternal optimist.
Hmm.
And what I usually say to them is, I am an optimistic person, but I also say that I'm a realistic person. Like I think it is possible to be both. I think you can be an optimist and a realist. And people that when they hear that, like when we talk about mindset, I ask you a question. So if you think about your typical day,
Hmm.
not your best day, you're in retail and maybe you make a great sale or something like that, and you feel
Hmm.
like the world's on fire,
Hmm.
or not your worst day. On a typical day, if I asked you like what's your number 1 to 10, where would you put yourself?
I mean, I'm at a 9.
Right. So it's so funny you say that
Hmm.
because on most days, I would say that Yeah, I would say that I'm a between an 8 and a 10 on
Hmm.
most days.
Hmm.
And for people that, I guess the next thing is, how do you get like that?
Yeah.
Like, obviously, when you talk about mindset, um, for me, a lot of it is being grateful. And it's very funny. I was over this past weekend. I was visiting relatives, and they have they're down at the Jersey Shore, and we were on the beach together, and there was a whole group of us. And I was talking to one of my cousins, and my cousin Gary, who, if he hopefully he hears this,
Hmm.
a guy I really respect. He's a glass half full guy,
Hmm.
and we both talked about this idea of just being grateful. And I said to him, "We're on the beach, right? It's a beautiful day, ocean. What do we have to complain about?" And it doesn't mean that every day is like that. It just means that you really need to take stock. And I try to say this a lot: is take stock of where you are in that moment. And that can be really hard for people to do that, because a lot of times they'll take stock of something when it's wrong, but won't take stock of things when they're right. And I'll give you actually a perfect example. Um, and I hope this resonates with people because it's something that just happened. So before we went down to visit our relatives, my wife and I were in Cleveland, Ohio, and we were there. I was buying a car, and when we came home, and this is a perfect segue into mindset. So when we left Cleveland, we flew into Charlotte, and we had a layover in Charlotte. And this was, I guess this, it doesn't matter what day it was, but bottom line is we had a layover, and we were supposed to catch a connecting flight that night. About an hour before the flight, we found out the flight was canceled. And it really was like, it was a surprise, and it was really difficult. It kind of threw a monkey wrench into our plans. And we were deciding whether or not we were going to go down the shore the next day to visit my family because of the time. And bottom line is, we stayed over in Charlotte. We took a quick flight home, got home. We were exhausted. We drove down the shore to see the family. And my point to it is the flight was a real pain in the ass. It was very difficult, and it threw a monkey wrench in things. But at the end of the day, we didn't harp on it. It was annoying and frustrating, but we made the best of it, and we still got to visit our family. And so much, I believe, of mindset is taking what's given to you
Yep.
and deciding what you're going to do with it.
Yep. Yeah, I think, you kind of, again, I'm taking notes too. And, you were derailed, right? You were enjoying the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in
Yep.
Cleveland, right? And seeing the
Yes.
new home of the Cleveland Browns. That's my territory for work. I love Cleveland, and happy as a clam, I'm sure, and flew into Charlotte, and you got derailed, and it's normal, right? We get derailed all the time. I agree with you. I'm a realist, right? So you're in Charlotte and you're figuring out what you're going to do, and you're thinking, you know what, realistically, I know I'm going to be tired. I got to punt. I got to find a place to stay. I got to get to it. Then I'm going to have to clear security again. I don't know if you guys only had carry-ons. What were you going to, did you have enough clothes and stuff? Blah, blah, blah. I travel all the time. But the bottom line is, you overcame it, right? You didn't allow yourselves to get derailed. You overcame those challenges, and you looked at the big picture, and the big picture was, I want to spend time with my family. And that's what was important to you. And that was the overarching theme was, you want to spend time with your family, we're going to make it happen. And so you're going to just, I think, you said it best. And I think a lot of times, our kids, they struggle with these derailments. And I think, when we think, I'm sure we all have kids all ages, and helping them, right, to, it isn't, everything isn't a crisis, right? It feels like
You're
it.
right.
And
Right.
that moment when you saw the canceled, listen, I like I said, I travel 75%. I know you see that cancel come over in the airport, and you're like, what the, and you got to punt. But in the big scheme of things, it's such a small snippet of time. And you still had at the end of the rainbow was, you were going to go see your family. And so you kind of just rolled with it, You're right. You kind of got your feelings in check a little bit and you kind of put it in perspective. And I think that's a gap for a lot of our kids, putting things in perspective. And then the big picture, that small snippet of time wasn't the end of the world. It's obviously you got a hotel. You didn't have to sleep on the airport chairs, and life went on. And it's not a big deal. You got home. You live an hour from the beach, and you drove down. And life went on. But it's how you deal with it in that moment, right? How did you really, you know, it does. You know what? You have to, you have to give those feelings a little bit of life, right? You got to play it out. It's okay to say, curse a little bit or whatever you're going to do. And then to your point, being a realist, solution.
Mhm.
I feel like my biggest thing is that I'm solution oriented. I can't change what happened. You can't change that plane got canceled. It's canceled. They're not going to reschedule just for Craig, even though you're amazing and everybody loves you. That American Airlines flight isn't going to fly. It's canceled. So you can't change it. All you can do is from there make your plan. So, I think being a realist helps you in those situations. And I think, just to even back up a little bit, I think, you being a realist, you were very present in that situation and you have awareness, right? And you got to, again, you got to let the feelings play out. It was irritating. It's a pain in the big scheme of things. You slept a couple hours and you still, did what you had to do. But, it's seeing things in perspective. And I think a lot of people struggle with that. And they really, they get inside their head, and things that are, molehills turn into a mountain. And listen, you and I can't step in anybody else's shoes, right? For someone who only travels once a year, what happened to you this weekend could be traumatic.
Mhm.
And you know what? And we have to respect that in people, because we don't know how people are feeling. But kind of helping people, can't change what happened. I feel like the mindset is I can't change, the airplane's not going to fly for me. So all I can do now is just make a plan B.
I love how you said. I love how you said punt. I haven't heard that, but I think that is a really powerful. Um, it's a really powerful statement, and I'll say why is because when I think about the situation that we were in,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll also bring up something else which I think is really important, and it kind of goes back to the daily day, right? Like, what's your
Mm-hmm.
daily day like? And it's just something for a lot of people to let them. And I love how I've heard you say the word marinate a couple times, and
Mm-hmm.
I love that. I love that word
Mm-hmm.
because most people that I am familiar with don't let anything marinate.
They're reactive.
They're very reactive to
Mm-hmm.
situations, and when they do let things marinate, they let them marinate in a negative way.
Yep.
So if I think about my whole vacation, well, I guess it was a vacation, but when I think about it, we stayed at a really nice hotel.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I got to drive my new car. I had a couple really good meals. We went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Rock and roll. Did you stay at the Key Tower Hotel?
No, we stayed at the Drury Hotel.
It's not. I love Cleveland. It's nice. And you didn't share with our viewers that it was your birthday weekend.
Yes, it
All right.
was. It
All right.
was. I
We got to
was.
share that. Uh-huh.
Yeah, it was. I'm
22.
6. I'm si- I'm 60.
What? Would you even tell anybody that for? You're gonna have to bleep
Why?
that out. No one will ever
Why?
believe that. But
Why?
that, you look great. I mean, 60 is just a number. It's amazing.
Exactly. That's just a number. So
Yeah.
so when I think about that, and I'm thinking about how I reacted.
Mhm.
Now that we're talking about it, when we got to the airport, um, I had a really good meal in Charlotte. The airport. The airport's amazing.
It is amazing.
It is amazing. And
Mhm.
if I think about the context of everything, and I hope people get this and think about their own lives. We
Mhm.
talked about punt, and I'm going to use that.
Mhm.
So, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Mhm.
Drove my next car.
Your
Had some
amazing
really.
car.
What's that?
Your amazing car.
Yep.
Yeah.
Got a Porsche. Um,
Ooh.
uh, but when that situation happened at the airport with the flight getting canceled, initially I didn't punt. I was like really angry.
Mm.
And I was angry because the airline didn't let us know. And we tried to get a connector flight and it was already overbooked. And the people we were dealing with were
Mm.
honestly, I'm not a big cursing guy. It's not really my thing,
Mhm.
but they were assholes.
Mhm.
And it really kind of like in that moment, it was frustrating. But then I remember just thinking about it, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to use your word, even though I didn't think about it. I'm going to use it. We just got to punt.
Mm-hmm.
We got to punt. Like, we can't live in this. We got to get another flight and move on.
Yep.
And I love that you use that, but also you said something else, which I have struggled with. I've gotten better, but I could tell you I've really struggled with it for a long time. And that is the idea of I'm just going to say, just get over it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm not a stressful guy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really not. I'm not somebody who really stresses over stuff. So for me to get over things is very, very easy.
Mm-hmm.
I can get angry in a moment, and then the next moment, I move on from it.
Yep.
And there's lots of reasons why we could discuss them, but you talked about respecting people. And it's taken me a while. I've gotten a lot better, not perfect, but better at understanding that you do you.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say that to students a lot. You do
Yeah.
you. Like, I'm just giving you advice, and you can choose to take it or not.
Yeah.
But whatever decision you make, I'm going to respect you anyway. And I think that's really critical here
Yeah.
for people that are watching and listening. You know, Paul and I, what we're doing is we're just talking and trying to give you some insight. We're not telling you what to do.
Right.
We're not saying you have to do A, B, C, D. Nobody's saying that. That would be totally inappropriate. What we're saying is these are the things that have worked for us personally, and they're generally common sense techniques.
Mm-hmm.
And you talked about, I believe you talked about a mountain and a molehill, right?
Mm-hmm.
My thing for that is if you don't know how to deal with the small things, then everything becomes a big thing.
Yeah.
And when the big thing really hits,
Mm-hmm.
you're ill prepared for it.
Yeah. Agreed. There's this great I've been in leadership, you have too, my whole
Mhm.
life. And so there's this leadership kind of training, and it's called notions. And so it's a 4-step process. And so, like, when you have an idea, it's a notion, you kind of feel strongly about it. And then the next step is it's like a pebble, and you feel a little stronger about it. And then it becomes a boulder, and you feel even stronger. And then it's like a stake in the ground, like you're going to live and die over this. And
Mhm.
so I really apply that to everyday life. We did a renovation in our house. And so, my husband and I, and he's like, well, what about the floor? And I'm like, honestly, the floor is a pebble to me. Like, you want to whatever with the floor, the granite tops, countertops, that's a stake in the ground. And so, and we do that with a lot, right? We're traveling or whatever you're doing is,
Yeah.
and I do that at work, but is it a pebble? Or are you going to live and die over that? What is your, I'll just send it to you. And it's just a great leadership kind of model. And so I think, as you're going through these experiences, for all your students, college, I have a college, you a college kid, where is this in the scale, right? Where is
Mhm.
it? And the situation, can you equate it to that? And so that kind of helps you deal with it. I really, I really try to push. I think emotional maturity is something, obviously it's called emotional maturity because you're more mature, when you get older. Um, but I think really looking for solutions. I think, as you get older, you spend a little less time in the derailment, and you just you respect it, but then you move into solution. And what am I going to do about it? I can't change what happened. I run businesses, and oh my God, we had such a horrible day. I'm so sorry. I'm like, look, I can't change what happened yesterday, but let's do it different today. Maybe let's sell a little different, or let's do a little different. Your students too. Oh my God, I did horrible in this chem test. Well, unless you can go back and work that teacher and do extra credit or whatever, the only thing you can do is do better next time. And maybe however you studied, it didn't prepare you enough. And so prepare yourself differently, study differently, like, maybe get more sleep the night before, but can't change what happened yesterday. And we can't change the plane, can't change what happened. All we can do is solution it
And
now.
I think, well, first of all, I mean, you're so right about the solutions. I mean,
Hmm.
it's so obvious. Like, think about the solutions that we can do. But I believe that people oftentimes, and again, I'm taking notes. I love the
Hmm.
notions idea.
Hmm.
What happens with a lot of people is, and I've had this with my own kids at times.
Mm-hmm.
Of I always say, just go get it.
Mm.
You know,
Love it.
I'm a big believer of go get it.
Yep.
And a lot of times, not just younger people, but older people will be hesitant because they're afraid of not being successful,
Yeah.
whatever that means. Which I always
Mm-hmm.
say, like, what does that mean? Be successful. I don't even know what that means.
Mm-hmm.
You know, somebody makes up that word. I don't know what successful is.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody defines it differently. But to me, when you talk about those notions about the pebble and the boulder
Mm-hmm.
and the stake in the ground, I'm going to say again that you said something, Paula, which I think is really critical. Um, Real quick, what's your give me one or two of your things. So if I said to you, what's your thing? What would you say?
I think one thing is being curious. I think I
Okay,
like to stay curious in life. I like to ask questions. I think that really helps you align with people. And I think so. I would say curiosity and connectivity are my
got
thing.
it. Curiosity and connectivity. Mine is fitness.
Okay.
So that's that's my thing.
Okay.
Um, like if somebody said to me, "Who are you?" I
Mm-hmm.
would say I'm all about wellness.
Mm.
I cherish my wellness, and but you said curiosity, and what was the other one?
Connectivity.
Connectivity. Curiosity and connectivity. I believe that you can't have too many things.
Yeah.
Like if you got 10 things, then you're never going to be really good at one thing.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be okay at them.
Mm-hmm.
And I do believe you can be good at a few things.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can definitely see the curiosity and the connectivity with you. You give that vibe. That's your vibe. I can
Mm-hmm.
see that and feel it. But not sometimes people get stuck at the notion part
Mm.
because they don't know how to get to that pebble. Like, what's I got this.
Yeah.
Whoa, slow down. Where's
Mm-hmm.
your pebble?
Yeah.
Like and I do this a lot when I talk to people about wellness and say to
Mm-hmm.
them, like, don't worry about a year from now.
Yep.
You're thinking way too far. Think about now. Like, where's your pebble? Well, I'd really like to lose weight. Okay, so there's your pebble. Okay, so if we want to turn that into a stone and then a boulder and a stake in the ground,
Mm-hmm.
what's that look like? If you tell me, hey, oh, I want to lose weight and I want to get a better job and I want to have a better personal life, you're not going to be able to do all those things at the same time.
Right.
It's going to be
Mm-hmm.
really difficult because you're going to be fragmented.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that when we talk about, you talked about emotional maturity. How
Mm-hmm.
do you even build that?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely comes with practice, right? I
Mhm.
think that, I'm sure same as you, we've been in roles that puts us in front of people our whole lives. And
Yep.
so I think that, sometimes you learn by trial and error, right? I'm sure I wasn't always good at it. And I'm sure there are some times when I wasn't curious and I wasn't mature and I probably didn't have the best response. And I think you learn. I think, I've learned from feedback, right? Feedback's a gift.
Mhm.
Um, I think you have to get feedback, when you're getting it from a trusted source. Like when we're done this, I'm going to be like, how did I do? And I'm going to want you to be honest with me because we've already kind of built some great trust. Um, but I think, all of those things kind of play into emotional maturity, listening to feedback and being able to say, okay, you know what, I didn't handle that right. I could have done differently, even as a parent, right? There's times I only have one daughter and there's times when I don't handle things correctly and
Mhm.
I'll circle back and I'll be like, hey, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean that, or I didn't mean to hurt your feelings, or I didn't mean however that happened. You know, and I'm showing vulnerability, right? I think vulnerability helps with maturity.
Definitely.
Being able to be vulnerable and transparent and say, I don't, I still have to, stuff to learn with being a parent. I only have, like I said, one daughter. So, I think all of those competencies, those life skills, kind of lend themselves to help you fine tune your emotional maturity. And
I love that.
I think just a side note, I think we're talking about kids, right? And the younger kids, they struggle with showing their vulnerable side.
Mhm.
They don't, and there's so much of social media about being perfect, and kids don't want to be vulnerable, and that's hard to teach, and I try to work on that, with my daughter, and I have a lot of younger people that work, and it's okay not to be, it's okay to be transparent and not perfect, but that's a tough one for a lot of people to grasp, being vulnerable.
Well, yeah, and again, none of us. Again, that goes back to a confidence piece.
Mhm.
Like how confident, like for me, when I think about my life, I grew up as an only child, so
Mm.
I didn't have brothers or sisters.
Okay.
I had a lot of friends, but didn't
Mhm.
have brothers or sisters. So I don't like to say I had to fend for myself because my parents were great and they cared for me a lot, but they were busy, they were working,
Mhm.
and a lot of times I had to learn to, you know, um, practice doing the right thing,
Mhm.
not live in the mistakes that I made. A
Yep.
lot of times when I think about how I was as a teenager and as a young adult, people who see me now would have never ever ever thought that that would be the case
Mhm.
because I was just young and immature and
Mhm.
just a lot of things, and then you kind of. I also believe, and I have something really important. I hope people kind of get something. This is really critical. The past is the past, and the present is the present, and
Mhm.
create your future.
Yep.
So I'll say it again: the past is the past, the present is the present, and create your future. So it doesn't mean don't ever think back to stuff that's happened. I mean, that's just silly. Of course you're
Mhm.
going to do that, but you don't want to live in it.
Mhm.
When you're living in the past constantly, oh my God, I I should have done this, and I could have done that, and I would have done this. The woulda, coulda, shoulda syndrome.
Mhm.
It leads to a lot of things that don't get done
Mhm.
because there's always going to be things that don't work.
Mhm.
Always. I don't care whoever you are. People will sometimes look to really, really successful people again,
Mhm.
and they say, "Oh my God, look at this person and look at that
Mhm.
person." I'm like, who gives a crap about that person?
Right.
Like, I'm not jealous of anybody.
Right.
Like, I'm really not. Like, if somebody has a lot of money or wealth or
Mhm.
fame, great, good for you. That's
Right.
awesome.
Right.
Congratulations.
Mhm.
I don't hold that against that person for that. That's their life, and they have their life, and we
Mhm.
have our lives,
Yep.
and it's up to us to make the best and practice the things that you want to be better at. Like if you want to develop a positive not mindset, develop a positive mindset.
Mhm.
Start small. Start with something that you know you can do. And again, those are things like, can you tell me something you do each day that creates that positive mindset?
Sure, it's easy. I think one is reflection, and reflection ties into gratefulness.
Hmm.
I think, you and I, when we initially were talking, and I was sharing, I had a little bit of a tough start to 2025,
Yep.
and I shared that, I was kind of coming out on the other side, and you asked me how I did it. And I said, I had to really flip my mindset, and I had to reflect, I had to step back, and I had to reflect, and I had to say, you know what, I have a lot to be grateful for, and let me be grateful, and then I I kind of linked gratefulness with giving back. And
Hmm.
so I just got on a nonprofit board of directors where
I
I'm
know.
impacting nonprofit. I'm doing workshops, and impacting. I have a meeting tomorrow. Super excited, but giving back, being grateful, those help with mindset. And you kind of get out of your own head with your own stuff, and you can kind of, like I said, take a step back, and then all of that helps you with your mindset.
I agree. I mean, the reflection piece, I think, is of course huge.
Hmm.
I mean, that's reflective thinking, reflective practice is a game changer.
Yep.
Not always easy to do,
Mm-mm.
but incredibly important
Hmm.
in the grand scheme of things. I would say for me, um, you know what? I would say for me, I tend to I tend to just think of things in a standpoint of, man, it could be so much worse.
That's good.
That's, some people might think that's a negative way of thinking, but I tend to say, like, in the grand scheme of my
Yep.
life,
Mhm.
I'm generally very healthy. Um, I take care of myself. I've been very blessed with a nice family,
Mhm.
a great career. Doesn't
Mhm.
mean perfect.
Right.
Again, doesn't mean perfect. Like,
Mhm.
I think that's really critical for people to understand that it's
Sure.
not about perfection. Because if that's the thing you're looking for, you're going to be constantly disappointed. It
Mhm.
is about little baby steps, being better or trying to be better
Mhm.
each day, and not letting one small thing like being delayed at the airport or
Mhm.
having a tough start to 2025, not allowing that to dictate the rest of your life.
Yep. You're right. And I think, it may not be perfect, but it's perfect for you.
Yes.
Right. And so, like, and that kind of links to what you said. You do you, right?
Mhm.
We have to, I think, you have to be happy with what you have. And you talked about you have a good career, you have a beautiful family, and you're grateful for where you are, and you put yourself there, and you're encouraging people to do that. And I agree with that, right? Like, go after it. If you're not, I just had a talk with someone last night who, is not really happy where they are in life, and they're kind of contemplating a big change, and they have an opportunity financially to do that. And I said, do that. You only get one life,
Mhm.
right? And I'm sure you and I talked about this, but nothing grows in your comfort zone. Nothing.
Right.
Right? So,
Right.
like, you're never going to grow. You're never going to get out of the doldrums if you're doing the same thing all the time. If you're not uncomfortable, if you're not putting yourself in uncomfortable situations, right? Like, so many people are out of work and they're interviewing and they're talking and they're networking. That those are all uncomfortable things. So I give all of those people, huge kudos. That's hard. Our students, getting ready to start college, going to college, or choosing college or whatever, they're all uncomfortable college interviews, but you're growing. And if you don't put yourself there, to your point, if you don't go for it, you're not going to grow. You're not going to grow. And without great growth doesn't come great mindset or great satisfaction. And you're going to be in the doldrums, and your mindset, all of that, you're going to be stuck. And so unfortunately, it takes the hard stuff to bring the good stuff. You got to
Mm.
climb to the top of the mountain so that you can slide down. And if you don't get to the top, you're not going to be able to slide down. So put the extra effort in, work it, and then you'll get the good that'll come from it. So you got to challenge yourself. And we connected with working out too. I lost 50 pounds within the past year and a half. And I didn't do that by, I dramatically changed my eating habits. I
Mm.
dramatically changed my sleeping habits. I was always a workout person, but you know what? 90% of it is what I was eating, when I was eating, what I was eating, how I was eating, the amount I was eating. I mean, I dramatically changed that.
Well,
Drinking, sugar, all of that, and really becoming mindful. And so that was hard. It was
well,
hard.
those are that's
Those
I
are hard.
mean
Yeah.
that's I mean the I mean that's a whole nother conversation. I'm not
A
even
whole
going to
nother.
get.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to, because that's my wheelhouse.
All right. Well, that'll be the next one. It'll be more fitness. All right.
That's the stuff I talk about all the time. Is like
All right.
small changes.
Mhm.
Small changes equals a big change. I mean that's
Yep.
it. Um, let's kind of think about, is there a closing? I guess so. Our main thing today,
Mhm.
everybody, we talked about a positive mindset. We didn't even get into
Mhm.
discipline. Maybe we'll touch on that next time.
Yep.
Is there a closing like message that you'd like to give to people?
Yeah, I think you choose your mindset every day,
Mhm.
right? So you open your eyes and you manifest it. You and I talked, right? You're going to manifest.
Yep.
You're going to open your eyes in the morning and you're going to are you going to have a good day or not good day? Right? You're going to open your eyes and people say you wake up on the wrong side of the bed. That's BS. You open your eyes and you manifest what kind of day you're going to have. And then you make it happen. That's what manifestation is. It's making it happen. So choose your mindset. I would say that choose your mindset. And once you choose it, partner it with manifestation, and man, you are unstoppable.
I love that, because I mean the manifesting is such a big thing.
Hmm.
You know, for me, I would say to everybody. So, Paula said manifest it. I would say my thing is really just start small. Start small. You know, when you wake up in the morning, pick something small that you know you can do. And you have to be able to know you can do it. So if your thing in the morning is, let's say, waking up and stretching, or waking up and having something healthy, or waking up and just doing something that's going to make you feel good, you really have to start somewhere, and that goes back to manifesting it. Like, you have to make it happen.
You have
If
to
you
make it
don't,
happen.
if you don't make it happen, it's not going to happen. And it kind of goes back to what you said about losing weight and doing all the sleep and the food. If you don't make it happen and manifest it, it's just not going to happen.
No. I have a quick good story because it's a good one, because we're talking about the beach and all that. So when I was going to the beach a lot, or the shore a couple of years ago, and we would go to a bar, a certain place, and it was always crowded, and they'd be like, "Oh my God, we're never going to find a parking spot." I'm like, "Yes, we are." And we always did. "Oh my God, we're never going to find seats at the bar." Yes, we are. And we always did. And my husband, to this day, he's like, "Oh no, we're not going to." He's like, "Oh no, she'll find a parking spot." Like, we just will. You will find that parking spot. You will get that seat at the bar. You will get into that college. You will whatever. That's it. I just would say, yes, we will. And we always did. There was never once. I would go with Jana to our favorite spot. I don't want to say any names or whatever, but she's like, and she wouldn't say it, but I would, she's like, like me. But, if we had other people and they'd be like, "Oh no, we don't want to go there on a Friday night. We're never going to get a seat." Yes, we will. And like, we did. And it's
That's that.
just that easy,
That's that That's that manifesting. My son Cole, who just graduated from college, he always talks about manifesting. He's like, "Dad, I'm going to manifest. I'm going to
Yeah.
I'm going to make it happen."
Make
And
it
I'll
happen.
say to him, "Okay, bud, start manifesting."
Yep. And that's it. So those are our closing words, I think. That's it.
So everybody, first of all, Paula, awesome job.
You too.
Awesome job.
You're a great partner.
Thanks. So this was episode 1 of Getting Better with Shap and Paula. We're going to make this a series. I don't know how many it'll be, but hopefully a lot. And every time we come on, there's going to be an overarching theme that we're trying to get you thinking about. And once you get thinking about it, hopefully acting on it and making it happen. So a couple things. Please consider sharing this out to other people. If you get a chance, subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'd really appreciate it. It's obviously how it makes the channel grow, and it's free. We're not charging anything. We're just giving our time because we want to make a difference in your life. So please consider kind of throwing it back. It'd be really appreciated. And again, go back and watch what Paul and I were talking about, and don't take everything. Please, don't take everything. Take a few things. Pick a couple things that Paula said. Pick a few things that I said, and try to put them into action. And once you do that, go back and watch it again, and then try to pick a few other things that you think you can do, instead of taking the whole 39 minutes and saying, "Oh my God, I got to do." Please don't do that. That'll be a recipe for you not getting out of your Notion. You'll get stuck there. So pick a few things. Paula, hang on. Everybody, thank you again for all you do. Paula and I appreciate you. And
have a great week.
You are awesome.